So I'm on a vacation, right? And when I'm on a vacation, I have the opportunity to listen to a lot of albums that I hadn't done in a while, right? Especially on vinyl. So today I figured, you know what? Let's listen to some John Lennon. I have some of his solo stuff on vinyl, and I thought to myself, what album do I want to listen to? And quickly I thought, you know what? It would be a great video idea if I had a discussion of what to me is the best John Lennon album, okay? So that's what we're gonna do today, and let's just start off with the ones I think are not on the discussion. That would be New York City, Mind Games, and Rock and Roll. These three albums, not gonna get into too much detail, but I think they are weak. They are not as good as any of the other ones I'm gonna point out here, okay? And they are ones that I don't have on vinyl. And although my dad does have Rock and Roll, it's in his collection, but I didn't bother going there just to show it for a second, okay? So we have 4 albums left. We have, let's go chronologically, shall we? We have John's first album, Plastic Ono Band, which I just recently got, like maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. We have Imagine, which I do have for quite some time. I love this cover, love it. This is kind of lame, to be honest. We have this sleeper hit, Walls and Bridges. People don't care too much for it, but I think it's one of his best. This is so fun, this cover, and the images kind of you can open them up like that individually. It's pretty fun. And of course, unfortunately, John's last album while he was alive, of course, Double Fantasy. This one is bittersweet, right? And we're gonna discuss it right now because Walls and Bridges and Double Fantasy are great, but I think they are a tier lower than Imagine and Plastic Ono Band. And you know what? Well, Walls and Bridges has great songs, and I think even John Lennon's estate, which of course represents Yoko, they kind of try and erase this period of John's solo career and John's life because he recorded this during the famous Lost Weekend, right? And you know, there's so much to be said about that. I'm not gonna do that right now, but let's just go very quickly here. Going Down on Love, I love. Whatever Gets You Through the Night, I love. Oh Dirt Road, kind of don't mind. What You Got is fun, extremely fun. Bless You is beautiful, beautiful song. Scared is also really cool. Number 9, Dream, great. Surprise, Surprise. That's what I'm not too familiar with, actually. Steel and Glass, love it. Beef Jerky, also great. Nobody Loves You When You're Down and Out is also really good, and Yeah. So I would say this is John's third best album. It's not such a classic as Plastic Ono Band and Imagine, but it's so good. It's so absolutely awesome, right? And it's a sleeper hit, as I said before. My copy has this Carlos written in here. I wrote it down because of I was gonna make a joke about the guy who won Wimbledon, but I forgot his surname. Carlos Alcaraz, right? No, that's a joke. I bought it and was like that. But man, just reading this titles, these tracks are amazing, right? So this is my third best John Lennon album in my opinion. Number four is Double Fantasy. Of course, it's so bittersweet. It's songs due to what happened, right? Unfortunately, they were elevated to a new level because it's John's last work. Right after it released, he was unfortunately murdered in such a sad way, right? I get sad when I think about it, but I don't think Yoko's music is great. I'm sorry, I'm not that kind of Beatles fan. Some Beatles fans just love Yoko's stuff. Some of them really like it. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a fan at all, actually. I, I've never given it too much of a chance, to be honest. I've tried and listened to Walking on Thin Ice lots of times, which was, I think, was recorded right before this. And John said in his Playboy interview that that was his best guitar part ever, but I don't like that song. I'm sorry, and if that's the best Yoko track, then I don't know. But I gotta be honest, I gotta listen to this album back to back again. I haven't done that in quite a while, so and I think it's sweet that it's a John song and a Yoko song. Let's talk about the John songs. Just like Starting Over, Clean Up Time, I'm Losing You, Beautiful Boy, Watching the Wheels, Dear Yoko, Woman. Man, what the hell, right? These are just classics. That's it. Absolute classics, and even the songs that are not that well known, such as I'm Losing You and Clean Up Time. These are two of my favorites, really, because of course, Woman, Beautiful Boy, just like Starting Over, we've, as Beatles fans, watching the Wheels, we've listened to them for so long. For, they're probably the most played John songs, along with Imagine and maybe Jealous Guy. Yeah, oh my God, and I don't think Milk and Honey. I'm not gonna talk about Milk and Honey. It's posthumous, and to be honest, it's not an album that I'm extremely familiar with. I gotta listen to it more often, but I don't think John's songs on Milk and Honey are up to this standard of greatness here. This album, this John side of the album is just incredible, and I think if all of the songs were as good as these ones are, it would definitely be number one on my list. And I'm sorry, Yoko, that I don't really like your songs. I'm sorry. So, with that out of the way, 8 minutes and a half talking about the albums I don't feel like are the best. But this title, the best John Lennon album, is just a way to start a great discussion about John albums. And of course, if you've come this far, please let me know your opinion here. Do you like Yoko's music? Do you like maybe Mind Games or New York City better than I do? What's your favorite song on Milk and Honey? Please tell me everything down here, okay? Now, this is the time where I pose for my picture on, these two ones here. They're tough. So, Plastic Ono Band released in 1970 and Imagine released in 1971. I love both of these album arts. I think they're incredible. Besides of this back cover here, this just doesn't look good anymore. This looks great, this picture of John. So, a little bit of history, and right after that we're gonna do a fun 1 versus 1. Okay, so Plastic Ono Band was released right after the Beatles broke up, and John was in such a terrible state of mind. He was in a hard battle against drugs. Of course, the Beatles were over, which was almost as bad as a divorce, maybe even worse for him. So it was a really tough time. And at that time, he did something called the primal scream therapy. And that just meant screaming the hell out until you simply maybe come to a primal understanding of your feelings. I think that was the main point of it, right? And this album really reflects that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was John's favorite album. It was his favorite work, and it's so pure. It's something that the other Beatles never did. This is like John going to therapy with us, and his songs are so pure and have such a deep meaning, and his lyrics are great, and his performances are awesome, and the production is so dry, and that makes the record astonishingly haunting, right? Most of the tracks we only have John on guitar or piano, Billy Preston maybe on piano, Ringo on drums, and Klaus Wurmer on bass. And that's all you need. That's a great lineup. Only the best. And it's such a downer, right? It's a hard listen because it's John's pure fears and childhood traumas and everything that make this album again. You feel like he shrank, basically. And meanwhile, Imagine is kind of that, but not in the same way. John himself said that Imagine was a Plastic Ono band for casual listeners. He didn't say like that, I forgot the term he used, but that's the gist of it. So, in that sense, we feel like Imagine was John's way of maybe keep going with this extremely haunting and psychology-filled adventure like Plastic Ono Band, but maybe in an easier to chew instrumentation and production. So it's extremely well produced. It's produced by Phil Spector, if I'm not mistaken. Actually not sure about that. Let me check it here. And we have Ringo. We don't have Ringo. We have Alan White on drums. We have lots of people from his band. It's not the same lineup as the other record. Phil Spector, yeah. John, Yoko, and Phil Spector. And we have George on guitars, especially on How Do You Sleep. His solo is great. On Give Me Some Truth, it's great. Anyway, now, before we wrap things up, I'm gonna do a 1 versus 1. I'm gonna open up Imagine versus Plastic Ono Band in a showdown, and let's see which one wins. Okay, so I've opened them up here. Let's take a look. Side 1, Plastic Ono Band. First song, Mother versus Imagine's Imagine, right? Man, that's tough. Imagine is such a classic, but Mother is Mother, right? So Imagine is so overplayed that I'm gonna choose Mother just for the sake of it, really. It's probably Lennon's best vocal performance ever. Pretty sure about that take. I stand by it. And it's so dry again. It's so deep, so emotional, so personal. It's great. Imagine, of course, is also great. It's a fucking classic. You know, I can't stress enough how Imagine is a classic, right? Number 2, Hold On versus Crippled Inside. So Plastic Ono Band is 1-0. I'm gonna write that down. I forgot to keep score. I'm gonna keep score right now. So Plastic Ono Band, 1-0. right? Number 2, Hold On versus Crippled Inside. This is another win for Plastic Ono Band. I love Hold On. John does a Cookie Monster, and it's great. His guitar is awesome. The lyrics are cool. His double tracking works so well on that one. I think it's such a raw production, but it sounds great. Simply put. Okay, so this is another win for Plastic Ono Band. Although I love Crippled Inside, I think its instrumentals are really fun. Both of them are fun songs. Number 3, I Found Out versus Jealous Guy. And now, I forgot to mention that before, but none of those two albums here, none of them to me are 10 out of 10s. And that's because of 2 songs. Plastic Ono Band song that I don't really like and I can't recommend. Maybe it's I found out. I'm sorry, I found out. I think that song's kind of boring, to be honest. It kind of drags, and it's only 3.5 minutes long, but it kind of drags. And Jealous Guy, it's one of John's best, and it's so hauntingly beautiful, hauntingly romantic, and at the same time, again, so personal. And great instrumentation, great whistling by John on the break. So yeah, pretty good. Not pretty good, excellent. Classic, legendary. Okay, number 4, we have Plastic Ono Band's Working Class Hero versus Imagine's It's So Hard, and that's gotta be Working Class Hero. I love John's criticism here. I think it's so well put together, and yeah, I'm not a huge fan of It's So Hard. Number 5, Isolation versus I Don't Wanna Be Your Soldier Mama, I Don't Wanna Die. The song, I think, kind of breaks Imagine for me. It's So Hard is okay. Its instrumentation is awesome. Its lyrics are okay. I think it's a 9 out of 10 song. But if the worst song on the album was It's So Hard, Imagine would be a 10 out of 10. But I Don't Want to Be a Soldier Mama, I Don't Want to Die is not good, really. I don't like that one, and Isolation is great. If I'm not mistaken, it's Sean's favorite song, and he's done a cover when his dad would turn 80, I think, on his 80th birthday. Sean did a cover of Isolation. So, and I love it. So great, so pure again, so raw, right? Okay, side 2, Give Me Some Truth. Imagine, right? Imagine Give Me Some Truth versus John's Plastic Ono Band Remember. That's a point for Give Me Some Truth. Great one. Imagine's Oh My Love versus Love by on the Plastic Ono Band, right? And that's probably the hardest one, along with Imagine versus Mother. Oh my God. Love versus Oh My Love. But Love, again, the word is hauntingly beautiful. It doesn't feel like a human being recorded the song Love. It feels like a fallen angel did that. It's so beautiful. And again, hauntingly, it haunts you. It's kind of strange how it feels disconnected. It feels like something's not right. And that's exactly what John tried to do, because we feel like he's exposed throughout, and that's really important, right? So Love is the one for me. It's not looking good for Imagine. It's 5 against 2 for Imagine. Number 3, Well. Number 3 of side 2 versus How Do You Sleep. I don't care for Well that much, but How Do You Sleep? I'm a huge Paul fan, right? I prefer Paul to John. He's my favorite Beatle. and How Do You Sleep is such a fucking terrible piece in the Beatles' history. It's a spot that shouldn't have existed, really. This is classic John, mistreating people, right? However, it's a bop. It's a great, great song. And George's solo, shame on George for participating, but fucking banger also. So yeah, it's give me some. I'm sorry. It's How Do You Sleep. How Do You Sleep is great. Although there was a time where I didn't like it. I didn't like to hear it, listen to it. But I've come to terms with it. Paul probably did come to terms with it, right? He never mentions it. He did mention it once, I, if I'm not mistaken. He said, he wanted to tell John to fuck off, and that's fair, right? But it's a great, instrumentally and musically, it's great, right? Okay, second to last song, Look at Me versus How, and that's too tough again. So tough. I love Look at Me, I love How. I gotta think about it really. But they're both one of my favorites in John's whole catalog, and they're both kind of underrated, right? But I think if I had a gun to my head, and if I had to choose between two songs, would be Look at Me. Yeah, it's Look at Me. Sorry, it's Look at Me. So it's 6-3 lead for Plastic Ono Band. Not looking good again. And last song, it's Oh Yoko on Imagine versus God on Plastic Ono Band. And yeah, it's God, right? God is a classic. One of John's best songs. Also underrated. I didn't expect that score, really. Plastic Ono Band 7, Imagine 3. Oh my. But that doesn't mean that Imagine is my favorite one. To be honest, let's wrap this up by saying that while I love both records, John did something in purpose. That's what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. John wanted to make Imagine more commercial, the album Imagine. Although it has political messaging, it has very deep lyrics, as Plastic Ono Band does, but again, it's in a more commercial package, right? So what is the best John Lennon album? On the whole, I'd say Imagine is the second place. Sorry, Imagine, I love you. You're too good, you're a 9.5 in my book, but Plastic Ono Band is something that we'll never have for any other rock star ever. Except for, I don't know, Nirvana, because Nirvana's discography is Kurt Cobain's Plastic Ono Band in a way, right? But this is John being himself, again, as I said multiple times during this video. It's John being fucking raw, fucking sad, fucking depressed, fucking devastated. And the album has so little instrumentation that works so well in its favor and its themes, and it's maybe the best of the Beatles solo album regarding theming, right? An album as a concept, as an art piece, as something whole. I think this would definitely be a match of Plastic Ono Band versus All Things Must Pass. I don't know which one would be the winner, but although All Things Must Pass is my favorite album of the solo Beatle careers, Plastic Ono Band has a chance, right? So if you want to know what John Lennon is like, if you want to understand his, not understand, but have a look, right, at his deeply conturbed life and thoughts and traumas and fears and also joy in a way and hope or the lack thereof. Listen to Plastic Ono Band. This is John's best album. I don't care. This is John's best album. It's great. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me? I don't think anybody is gonna listen for 26 minutes of me ranting about John Lennon. But anyway, I do that because I like to. See you guys. See you on the next one.